I'd like to show you another game by one of the viewers of the channel. This is a beautiful attacking game, and I think it's really instructive. In fact, this was played by one of my patrons. Yes, one of those fine people that supports me on patreon.com/PowerPlayChess. Do check it out. Check out the rewards you get, depending on how much you support the channel by. Anyway, this game. It's a Scotch Gambit. It was played, as I said, by one of my patrons. His online handle is Seriously Deep. And there are some seriously deep attacking variations in this game. So white plays the Scotch. It's taken with the pawn. And then instead of knight takes pawn, bishop c4. So this is the Scotch Gambit, and this is an ancient variation. But it's had a revival over the last few years. Played by really top players, actually. And black can play here, bishop c5, that's possible. But knight f6 is a good move, of course. Bringing a knight into the game just can't be wrong. And here white can castle, but you can also play e5. So this is really the modern way of playing the position, and very old too. So in response to this, it's really important that black hits out with d5. And if pawn takes knight, pawn takes bishop, this is already very promising for black. So after d5, white plays bishop b5. You've got to move the bishop. And now that the pawn is here, the knight hops into the middle of the board, so it's nicely supported by that d-pawn. And white takes back the pawn on d4, so now there is a threat to play knight takes c6. All absolutely standard so far. And really there are two good moves for black in the position. You can simply support the knight on c6, or you can play bishop c5. So that's a tricky move. Right. Here's my first question for you. If you were white, how would you play in this position? White to play. I'll have a drink. You have a think. Cheers. White to play. Well, the best move here is to play bishop e3. Bring your bishop into the game. It supports the knight here. It also protects the pawn on f2, which is a little bit vulnerable. And the main line is if black castles, and now there's a threat to take here, so white exchanges off the bishop and then plays knight d2. So you can see that white has brought some pieces into the game and is challenging that strong knight on e4. If Anchuk has played like this, for example. So rapid development. Oh, I should mention that knight takes c6 is very risky. This also neglects development in its own way. I mean, it's still quite unclear, actually. But white has to be so careful here. I mean, you can lose almost instantly, you know, with bishop a6, and, you know, the king is in massive trouble. But yeah, the sound move here is to play bishop e3, which protects those loose points, and then knight d2. But in this game, well, I should say this is an online game, a 3-minute game played on Lichess this year. And white played c3, and it's one of those sort of automatic moves that white obviously thought, yeah, that knight looks a bit vulnerable, I suppose I'll just support it with the pawn, and if that's taken, then, you know, I'll have a nice pawn chain. Just feels right. But this one move, which is really a superfluous pawn move, you don't need to make that pawn move, that slows down white's development, and that has tragic consequences, as we're going to see. So seriously deep castle kingside, that's right, no messing around. Now there's a threat to take here, so white eliminated the knight and castled. Okay, fine. But notice that black's development is already very healthy, and white has a problem with these queenside pieces. They're still on their starting blocks. Bishop a6, well, that's another piece that comes out rapidly and with tempo. Hits the rook, which moves away from guarding the f-pawn. And now again, black brings another piece into the game, the queen, once again with tempo, and this is already quite serious. White brings a piece out. Well, that bishop does protect f2 and supports the knight, but yeah, that should have been moved there a long time ago. And as black has a lead in development, basically it's possible to start attacking operations already. f5, great move. Why not? While, you know, white's pieces are sitting here on the queen side, let's go for it on the king side. I mean, completely justified, because look how many pieces are around white's king. Good move. And now there's a threat to play f4. If that's taken, then that'll just bring the rook into the game, and that's incredibly dangerous. F3, bishop d6. I mean, this is already absolutely dreadful. White played here g3. I just want to show you another move. Knight f3 could be a decent move to exchange pieces. Okay, what would you play on knight f3, attacking the queen? Black to play. It's actually been seen in a few games. But the strongest move here has never been played. So what would you do with black in this position? In some ways it's a very logical move because it continues black's initiative. If the queen moves, then that slows everything down. But this is incredibly strong. Of course, if that's taken, then queen takes pawn check. Knight takes queen. It's a queen sacrifice. But after this, black's initiative continues. Knight f2 threatened. So rook here. And black has what? Rook and bishop and a pawn for the queen. But look at black's pieces. I mean, they stand beautifully. That pawn's going to be recovered. Great position for black. Just a lovely initiative. Anyway, after f5, white didn't play that. White played g3. Well, look at those squares around the king. That's incredibly dangerous. Queen h3 looks very reasonable to put the queen in the zone around the king. And now knight e6 was played. And seriously deep played, a seriously deep attacking move. A great move here. Black to play. How would you play here with black? Here we go. Knight takes pawn. Crashing through. So if, yeah, I should say in the game bishop takes was played. If king takes, watch what happens. Queen check. The king comes up the board, and now really thematic move, a beautiful move. f4. This just opens everything up. If pawn takes, rook takes pawn check. Rook f8 is just wonderful. And although white is what, a rook and a piece up, there is absolutely no defense. If the bishop comes back, queen h3 is actually checkmate. Anyway, in the game, bishop takes f2. Bishops are exchanged and queen takes h2. And here king f3 was played. Let me just show you king e3. This is funny. I mean, just look at this. I mean, this is just wonderful, the way the king gets chased right across the board. This is absolutely forced. White's king cannot escape. And finally, bishop c8 mate. I mean, that's a wonderful variation with the king blocked by the rook. Anyway, that didn't happen. King f3 happened. And now again, this really thematic move that black has. Black is a piece down, but you just got to keep going forward. f4 opens things up. It's a wonderful move. And if pawn takes, then again, just crash through. And this is actually winning. Like this. And there is just no defense. Rook takes knight is happening and the king just has no cover. In the game, after f4, white played this. And again, rook takes knight. Beautiful move. Rook f8. What's the score? Let me see. White is a whole rook up. But there is no defense here. Queen here. Defending this one. g5. Just about collecting this one. Rook g1. Rook takes pawn check. And the final move, queen f2. What a splendid attacking game. But it all comes down to one move. Just look at that knight on b1. It never entered the game. You can see these pieces are on their starting blocks. Never got into the game, and black's initiative just rolled through beautifully. Yeah, for want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. That knight never got in the game. If we come back, I would say the critical move is at move 8. One superfluous pawn move, and the battle was lost. Correct move is bishop e3 and watch. Knight d2, the knight gets into the game. White will not be checkmated. I know, of course, it's not forced checkmate from c3, but it's the fact that black had this rolling initiative, which is very, very difficult to defend against. So, congratulations, well played, seriously deep, absolutely beautiful attacking game. If you're not a subscriber, then do hit that subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel, like Seriously Deep has, then do check out patreon.com/PowerPlayChess. I'll put the link down there somewhere. Thanks for watching.